all personnel. Incoming podcast. This is MASH Matters.
We are back with another episode of MASH Matters, the podcast celebrating the greatest television series of all time. That television series would be MASH. I'm Ryan Patrick, a huge fan of the show, and this guy, Jeff Maxwell, was on the show. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Ryan. Hello, Ryan. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Please sit down. Please take your seats. There will be no prizes underneath those seats, so don't get all excited. Just sit down and be quiet for a while.
Yes, please stop looking underneath your
Thank
seats.
you. Yeah, don't do that. I may look underneath your seats, but that's a whole different story.
Hey, ho, hey,
ho.
ho,
All
hey,
right.
now. All right. Hey, here we are, Jeff, episode 101, starting on the road to 200.
Holy moly. Wow, 200. Hey, 100 was a lot.
Yeah.
And now 101 is still a lot. 200, it's even more a lot.
The question is, will we get there? Will we get to 200? Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Place your bets. Will we make it all the way? Time will tell.
Time will tell. Well, I plan to. You know, of course, there are several countries in the world that perhaps would stop us, with their things. But hopefully they won't do that.
Or Disney, one of the two.
Or Disney. Oh, yeah. Oh, that.
I don't know which one's more powerful,
Yeah. Is it Russia or a mouse named Mickey? Time will tell.
Time will tell, yeah. Exactly. So, hey, we've been busy lately. We had a live stream where we celebrated the 40th anniversary of the finale. Then we had a great interview with our friend Wilfred L. And then we had episode 100, which we didn't know what the reaction would be to that. But my goodness, it's been overwhelmingly positive. And so we're still trying to catch our breath from everything that's happened in the last couple of months here.
Yeah.
So today's episode is kind of a catch-up. We're just going to catch up on a bunch of stuff. We're going to recap a few things. We've got a few other things to talk about. Also, Jeff, recently here in the last month or so, Alan Alda had a special episode of his podcast where he was talking about AI.
Mm-hmm.
He had AI write a scene from MASH, and then he and Mike Farrell acted that scene out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was something else. You listened to that episode, right?
I did. Yes, I did.
It was entertaining and terrifying at the same time.
My words exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
Absolutely. Listening to that this thing, artificial intelligence, which I would love to have some of, but I didn't get that much. It's an amazing scientific, technological achievement. However, it is also terrifying.
It is.
That it can do what it does. And we're good guys. And Alan Alda, when he did his podcast on Clear and Vivid, spotlighting it and what it does and what it doesn't do, it was terrifying. And Alan Alda's a good guy, and he did a lot with it. And so if real good guys can do a lot with it, what can the bad guys do with it? That's what's kind of scary.
Time will tell.
Yes. Time will tell.
Well, I found that to be very entertaining, and I'm of a mind of, not reinventing the wheel. So at the end of this episode, we asked AI to write a scene with Igor and Charles.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
We're going to act that out for you at the end of this episode.
Now, is David Ogden Stiers coming in to play the character?
I'm afraid he is unavailable.
Okay.
So I will be playing the part of Charles Emerson Winchester III.
Aha! All right. There you go. Well, this will be darn fun.
So that's at the end of the episode. But you have to listen to us blather on and on before we get there. So let's just look back at the last couple of episodes here and just read some feedback from listeners. We had our 40th anniversary live stream. You can still find that, by the way, on YouTube. Go to our YouTube page. It was a lot of fun. I don't know about you, Jeff. I had a really good time because we were answering questions in real time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We might do something like that again. Who knows?
Yeah, because the energy was great having those, improvisational answers because we had no idea what anybody was going to ask us. And that was kind of fun. And the energy level that provides is really fun. Plus that I enjoyed looking at myself. I mean, obviously.
You had good hair that night. Yeah.
I did have good hair. I had decent hair. Yes, I did. And you were in real good form. You had your Alan Alda shirt on.
Yeah, I did.
A charming look about yourself. We were dapper and charming.
Now, which one? Was I charming or you dapper? Or,
I'm not sure.
Or you,
Let me get back
you
to
charming
you next
and I was
week. I
okay.
got these. I have to do some research.
The vaudeville team of dapper and charming. So we got a little bit of feedback, and here's one that was particularly interesting. Would you like to read that?
All right. Manfred. I like that name, Manfred. Isn't that a cool name?
It is.
Manfred, what do you think about the murder tonight, Manfred? Manfred says, hey, Jeff and Ryan, it was so good to see you both on the live stream talking about the 40th anniversary of the MASH finale. You should put it up on Spotify, too. All right. What's Spotify? Oh, well, never mind. You guys know what it is. But speaking about the finale, did you know that there are so many people who have never seen it? Oh, no. And I am speaking of the younger generations now, the ones who discovered MASH after the finale was aired, and that's because it is not shown in syndication. And it's not shown in syndication because, due to the length of the episode, it does not fit in the program schedule of most of the TV stations. Therefore, they just skip the last part of the show. Sacrilege. Crumb bums. Some TV stations did cut the episode into smaller parts and sent them as to be continued. But my research for Germany, for example, showed that the finale was last aired in 2009, as the rest of the whole MASH show is constantly being shown on at least one TV station in Germany. And that is the same in other countries where the show runs, but the finale is never shown. Oh. Even some streaming providers don't have the finale in their offer. So in order to experience the whole thing, you must either get lucky or you have to buy the DVD. Well, I hope the two of you talking about the finale makes the listeners of MASH Matters curious about it, and maybe one or two go for it and see it for the first time. Both of you and your family stay healthy, take care, and we're all looking forward to a lot more MASH Matters, as are we. Hey, Manfred, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a shame that people have never seen the finale, because it's a good one.
Yeah, some people may not, especially if they're watching it in syndication.
Yeah.
I think MeTV will show the finale once a year, maybe, and then it's not in the syndication package. So the order of syndication, it ends with the penultimate episode, the time capsule episode, as time goes by. And then the next episode after that, it goes right back to the pilot. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine watching it in smaller parts with a to be continued.
Oh.
That would not be enjoyable.
No,
really
it would be so disjointed and strange. You wouldn't know what the heck you were looking at. No, that's a terrible way to do it.
So yeah, I assume that he's right. There are people out there who have never seen the finale. If you don't have access to the DVDs, and if whatever streaming service you watch it on doesn't feature Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, I believe it is on Hulu here in the States. I don't know about where it's on Disney Plus, but if you've never seen it, it's something you really, really should consume all in one setting. Mm-hmm. And I also know that there are some people out there who have never watched the finale on purpose because they don't want the show to end. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't. And I didn't want it to end. I watched the finale.
Right.
I wonder if the producers now were doing the same thing, and they were doing this now, if they would, now you could do it because you've got streaming and you got cables and all that stuff. But back in 83, it was a little sketchy. So I wonder if they, looking back on it, would say, maybe 2.5 hours was just a tad long, because there is a syndication issue and they want the show to be in syndication, and that would put pressure on the TV stations to do that. So I wonder if they'd have a discussion about that today. I don't know.
They did release it on video cassette also. So maybe part of the reasoning is so that they could sell the video cassette or rentals for the video cassette. Video cassette, it was really the only way you could see it if you were lucky enough to get a copy of it and you had a VCR, which not everybody had at that time.
A what? It had a what? A what was that?
You had a hand crank. What? You put a gerbil in there and it ran on a wheel and it powered this thing where you could watch really flimsy, degradable tape of your favorite shows.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
And the more you watched it, the worse the quality got. It was great. Fantastic.
Interesting. Did you have to get several gerbils, or could you just use one for a long time?
It depends how many episodes you wanted to watch.
I see. All right.
So thank you, Manfred. Moving on, this is a message from Lorena, it sets up the next episode, which was episode 99. It says, "Hello, Jeff and Ryan. I came upon your podcast in mid-January of 2023 while listening to the host from a 90s rewatch podcast reference the MASH podcast in regards to the actors contributing to an episode during table reads. When I found MASH Matters, I wasn't 100% sure if this was the podcast he was referencing, but I'm so glad I found you. Since then, I've binge listened while cooking, cleaning, getting ready for work, and really anytime I have a chance to have my AirPod in my ear, and I'm finally all caught up. Being born 3 years before the finale, and as a child of immigrant parents from Mexico, MASH wasn't something I came upon until I was about 10 or 11. My parents were such hard workers that, like many kids in my generation, TV was my sitter, so I would stay up to watch MASH after the 10 o'clock news on the Fox station here in Los Angeles. My memory isn't the greatest, so I can't recall what episode was my first, but I do know that no matter what episode was on TV, I would watch and can't really decide on a favorite episode because they are all my favorite. You are doing a great job, and I am extremely grateful that I found your podcast. Thank you for all the laughs and tears, especially hearing Kelly's episode and knowing that she had already passed. MASH holds a special place in my heart, and now your podcast holds that place as well. Here's looking up your old address." That's very sweet of you, Lorena. Mm-hmm. The opening line of her email said, "I came upon your podcast while listening to a host of a 90s rewatch podcast referencing the MASH podcast." And I have to believe, Lorena, that you are referring to our friend, Mr. Will Friedle, who hosts the Boy Meets World rewatch podcast. And he has actually talked about our podcast several times on their podcast. And thanks to him mentioning it, Lorena found MASH Matters. And I know a lot of other people have found MASH Matters because of Will Friedle. So thank you. Thank you, Will.
Do we owe him money or anything? Is he doing this?
I think we do now. Yes, I really do.
Nice guy, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I loved talking to Will. He had so much energy. And we, in fact, the next comment refers to that.
Yes. And Bob says, listening to the podcast, boy, Will has a lot of energy. Will talked about those on the show we've lost live forever. This reminded me of a speech Gene Smart says at the end of the movie Babylon. Recommend watching the movie just for that speech. It rivals the James Earl Jones speech at the end of Field of Dreams. Wow, really? Holy moly.
I have not watched Babylon. Now, I will say what I know about Babylon, it is not for everybody. It is a film that has some very graphic moments. So don't pop it on and watch it with the kids, from what I understand. Again, I have not watched it, but I am interested now in hearing the speech from Gene Smart. I love Gene Smart. I love the show on HBO Max called Hacks that she is a star of. And Field of Dreams is one of my favorite all time. So Will Friedle is now in the Field of Dreams pantheon of great thoughts and speeches. So congratulations, Will.
Amazing. Yeah. Now, Babylon, when you say pop it on, is Babylon available other than, can you put that on your old television or can you have to go out to a theater?
It's not available on VHS and your VCR.
No. Okay.
But it is available. I believe it's on Paramount Plus.
Oh, really? I believe so. That.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was nominated for a few Oscars as well.
Yeah.
I believe it won the Oscar for score, Best Original Score.
Okay. That's good.
Where were we? Oh, yes, MASH.
Oh, yeah. MASH.
So we had two different messages come in here. The first one from Horsey Gal.
Horsey Gal.
The friend of ours on YouTube and Instagram. Horsey Gal says, "This was so much fun. I think there needs to be a MASH nerd trivia quiz between Will and Ryan. Of course, Jeff can host it because he is the one with the game show hosting experience." And Leslie said, "Might be time for the Great MASH Trivia Battle of the Stars. Yes, Ryan, you are a star." Okay, whatever. We'll agree to disagree on that one. Such a fun episode. We agree. I loved our time with Will. And I actually texted him this comment and said, maybe this has some legs. Maybe we can figure out something. He's all in for it. He had the idea of maybe we could do something to benefit a charity or something.
Sure.
We'll see. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we might be able to work out some kind of MASH nerd trivia with Will and me and Jeff and whatever. That might be fun.
And now, the MASH nerd trivia, hosted by yours truly, Jeff Maxwell. See, I can do it.
You may remember Jeff from Shoppers Casino.
Will, where you from, buddy?
Well, it was fun. Will, again, I know you're listening to this, so Will, thank you. And we can't wait to have you back on sometime.
And we'll give you a discount on that next time, too.
You get a friends and family discount the second appearance. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So before we move on to our discussion about episode 100, we want to salute our Patreon VIPs. Here are just a few.
Private plays with food.
Now let's just pause right there and just enjoy that name.
Yeah, I'm going to say that again just because I never said that before. I'll say it one more time. Private plays with food.
What comes to mind is Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
This is, his cousin plays with food. I don't know.
Corporal Where's My Gerbil is coming up. I don't know.
Okay, moving on. Private Beth Evans.
Corporal David Blanchard.
Captain Ann Hicks.
Captain Heath Daniels.
Major Megan Bridget.
Major Mark Reed.
And Major Carrie Gajowski. Thank you for all your support. You can also support the show on Patreon. Just go to mashmatters.com/support and you can be a part of the fun for as little as $3 a month. I wanted to mention too, Jeff, Major Carrie Gajowski, who was one of our special guests out at the ranch for the 50th anniversary,
yes,
has her own MASH podcast now. She started it, and I think she's like 6 or 7 episodes in. It's called MASH Forever, and we will put a link to that in the show notes if you want to give her a quick listen as well.
Wow. Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
We started something, Jeff.
Yes. I mean,
everybody wants to have a MASH podcast now. It's all the rage.
They all want a piece of us.
And speaking of, you can own a piece of us. We have merch.
We have merch.
Go click on the store link at mashmatters.com and buy some shirts, mugs. There are all kinds of trinkets and knickknacks and everything there.
I think merch is what you feed to gerbils. I think gerbils eat merch. Something like that. I don't know.
Isn't that what you put around in your flower bed? Merch?
Merch, yeah.
No, that's mulch.
Yeah, that's
mulch. Never
yeah.
mind.
Yeah,
my bad.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
That brings us to episode 100. Well, let me tell you something, Jeff.
Yes.
I want to give some advice to prospective podcasters out there.
Yes.
If you're thinking about starting a podcast, and if your podcast happens to include an interview with a beloved entertainer who has been dead for 25 years, it would be good to not release that episode on April 1st because nobody will believe you.
I guess so. Yikes. Yeah, that was a little interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. So on our social media, you can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram. A few days before episode 100 came out, we put out on our social media, hey, we've got an interview coming up with a very special someone who's never been on the podcast before. Do you want to take a guess who it is? And we had so many guesses, and they ran the gamut from Loudon Wainwright III to George Wendt to, they had some great ideas for guests. And then the theme started, wait a minute, this is coming out April 1st. So people started guessing that it was Tuttle.
Could be.
Or President Truman.
President Truman.
Or Sophie, the horse.
Sophie, yeah. Yeah.
And that's when it started occurring to me, this episode's coming out on April Fool's Day. People may not believe it when they see that our special guest was McLean Stevenson. And lo and behold, a few people did in comments and private messages say, is this a joke? Anyway, just a little piece of advice for all of you out there starting podcasts. Don't release these giant episodes with dead celebrities on April 1st.
Yeah. Maybe we should have done a big April Fool's joke. What the heck?
I know. Now I'm disappointed that we didn't do an episode with Tuttle.
Honest to gosh, it sort of fits us to have done that. It really
kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Can you do an April 7th joke or something? Is that
no.
Gee whiz.
We also want to give a plug to the audio restoration company that made that audio listenable.
Indeed. And certainly we also are very appreciative to Mike Hirsch for providing those tapes some time ago.
Oh, yes.
He is our hero for doing that. And we, again, thank you, Mike, for doing that. Everybody does. But, as you know, when we first got them, the tapes were in pretty bad shape.
Very bad.
In terms of the audio quality and not really broadcastable. Very difficult to listen to. And it would not have been an interesting thing to hear.
No.
Had we left them that way. So we took a chance. And I did know of a company in Los Angeles that goes after some very difficult audio tapes of various productions and has been very successful at restoring them and making them listenable. So we took a chance and I went to them, and lo and behold, they did a terrific job. So we just want to give that little shout out to their company. And the company is Los Angeles Video Transfer Service. And the engineer, Christian Delgadillo, was terrific. He worked with me in terms of, getting the things correct. And he took all of the original tapes and actually applied AI to them. And that's what saved our butts here. The AI was actually able to restore all of the audio to the point that we were able to listen to it, and restored McLean's voice. So anyway, thank you, Christian. Thank you, Los Angeles Video Transfer Service. We could not have done it without you, and we are very grateful. So thank you very much. If anybody's in Los Angeles and needs their audio fixed, go see Christian.
Yes. And we will put a link to their website in the show notes for this episode, too, if you need to get in touch with them.
Yep.
They do video transfer, photo preservation, film digitizing, audio conversion. They do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, they do.
If you are in the LA area and you need this service, you can find them at the link in our show notes.
And please tell them Mash Matters sent you, because we get a 72% cut of the whatever business you're in.
All right, let's dive into some of the feedback from episode 100, and we're going to start with a voicemail, this one coming to us from Leslie.
Hey there, Mash Matters. Jeff and Ryan, 100th episode, beyond phenomenal. Just beyond phenomenal. It was so good, and I thank you so much. And I'm going to keep this under 3 minutes because that's really all I have to say. It's just wonderful. And the surprise at the end, I'm not going to spoil alert, but oh my goodness, that was phenomenal. Just phenomenal. Okay? This is Leslie Shades McCabe, and I'm over here in Connecticut. And may you have hundreds and hundreds more, because we're loving it. Take good care. Bye.
That's great.
But what did you think of it, Leslie? That's the real question.
Come on.
Did you like it?
Tell us the truth. Come on. We want to hear what you really believe. She's sweet. That was fun.
Yeah.
And we have another comment from Jess J. Bell. I'm only through the first 6 minutes. Normally I listen while doing something else, but for this, I just had to finish what I was doing and then sit down to give this my full attention. I love McLean Stevenson. His Henry Blake was so brilliant. I love all of MASH, but those first seasons are lightning in a bottle. With McLean dying so long ago, we never got too much about his memories and takes on things. And he wasn't too talkative about it after he left MASH. Thank you, Jeff and Ryan, for bringing this to us.
And Brian says, gentlemen, allow me to join the chorus, no doubt, of those who are thanking and congratulating you for airing the McLean Stevenson interview recording. This episode of your podcast makes a significant contribution to the knowledge base and history of MASH, and I am grateful to have heard it. I'm also very grateful to Michael Hirsch for making this recording available to you. And, oh yeah, happy 100th episode. Well, thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. That's nice. Very nice. McLean Stevenson was a great guy. He was, I have said this before, but he was probably the funniest guy on the set. Between scenes, he would do these improvs. I mean, you could say, porcupine to him, and he'd go off for 10 minutes and you're on the floor because of his, riff about porcupines. And he did that. And people, they'd have to yell at him, say, shut up. We have to make this TV show. And he was a writer. He worked for television shows as a writer as well. He's a wonderful guy. It's so sad to have lost him so early. It really is.
But we were able to bring him back.
Yes, we did.
And we did.
So John says, John, by the way, is a Patreon VIP. Come on. Well, this was amazing. Raw and real. The Jackie Cooper story, the behind-the-scenes details about Edwina, and especially the information about Stevenson's divorce and his need for money. It's too easy for fans to forget that actors exist as humans outside the parts they play. You can hear in his voice just how hard that time in his life was. Thanks for this, and congratulations on 100. Thank you. I'm really pleased that this comment about you can hear in his voice just how hard that time in his life was, because as I was listening to the tapes and we were putting them together, I could really hear the stress in his voice as he was talking about various things. I knew him, many years ago, and thinking back, I now sort of realized that stress was there then, but I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. I just wasn't sensitized to it or, didn't hear it at all. But in listening to the tapes, as he recounted a lot of things that were stressful to him, you could really hear it.
Oh, yeah.
He was wound up probably pretty tight back then dealing with all those issues. And you're right, actors, I've said it, it's a job. It's 7 o'clock in the morning and you go and you do what you're supposed to do. And then you get out at 6 o'clock and you're going to go home and have fun with your kids or your family and go out to dinner. And it's a job. And then the next day, oh yeah, I got to get up at 7 o'clock. I got to be there. And so actors do go through that as a job. It's just because there's so much hoopla around them that you kind of forget that that's what they're paid to do and they got to do it. But they're human beings and they go home and they have fun and they take out the garbage and they go to restaurants and they go to sleep and they, fight with their spouses and everything that everybody does. And so it's, I think that's, for me anyway, I think we got a sense about that listening to McLean and hearing that that's a real human being going through something that became such an iconic television show. Anyway, I could go on and on, but I won't. But thank you, John. You're a very smart person. Very, very smart person.
Very, very perceptive. Yes.
Very perceptive. And that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you said. He is, definitely.
Harold says, thanks for show 100. It was unexpected and great. The final voicemails took it over the top. It's in my top 3 episodes of your podcast, along with the table read and the interview with Mike Farrell. It's nice to know I'm not alone with my love of MASH. Hey, Jeff, people have top 3 episodes of our podcast. I don't think I even have top 3 episodes of our podcast.
Really? Yeah. Wow. Does anybody have the bottom 3 episodes? I'd like to hear those.
Now bottom 3 I can do. Bottom 3, that's easy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do the top 3.
Why do you think we're so easily thrown to the bottom 3? I don't know why that would be. But for some reason, it's so much easier to go there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm a pessimist, so that helps.
Would we then be classed as bottom feeders? That's something we would be? Your bottom pod feeders? Something
yes, that's our next podcast.
Bottom pod feeders. Well, our friend Larry said, loved the McLean Stevenson recording. Thank you for sharing it. I was fascinated by him talking about Edwina, which is also my least favorite episode. Sounded like Max said that episode was in their 2nd year. It was actually in season 1 and first broadcast in December 1972. Wow, that's an interesting fact. Also loved him talking about Dayton, Ohio, which is where I've been on the radio for 36 years now. Well, you must be very tired, for gosh sake. That's a lot of work. If I had known about him being there when I was 8 years old, I would have begged my parents to take me to the Dayton Convention Center and nabbed an autographed photo. I will ask some of my Dayton peeps if they remember that and if they have or know someone who has one of those photos. Yeah, that would be great. I remember, you said, hey, has anybody got one of those? We'd love to see it. That would be really fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paul says, Ryan and Jeff, I have been a MASH watcher since 1974 and a firm believer that seasons 1 through 3 of the series will never be topped. I have listened to every episode of your podcast and enjoyed them all. However, I have to commend you for hitting a grand slam with the episode 100. Colonel Blake is such a terrific character and McLean embodied him so well. I have always wanted to hear McLean's view of the show and his reasons for leaving it. The interview in your podcast answered so many of my questions. I agree with McLean that Berghoff was the best actor on the show. I have always said that Radar was the heart and soul of MASH. Once he left, the show was like a 3-legged dog. Still a dog, but never the same as it was. Thank you to Mr. Hirsch and everyone else responsible for resurrecting this lost interview. I was such a fan of McLean that I watched each of his failed series after he left MASH. Here's hoping your podcast runs at least 100 more episodes. And that's Paul in New Bern, North Carolina. And he says, P.S., I thought there were going to be refreshments.
And Seth says, the Peacock streaming service has a bunch of old Johnny Carson Tonight Show episodes, and there are a few with McLean as a guest. Well worth watching as he was so funny. Just a pleasure seeing these interviews. Jeff, I know you have mentioned this before, but wondering if you can give some stories about McLean's sense of humor. Well, I did just a few seconds ago. But McLean was a great guy, and but listen to the pod. Well, you've already heard that. So
just rewind. If you want to hear it again, just rewind about, a couple minutes and you'll hear it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love, you can actually find some old clips of him on the Johnny Carson show too, I think on YouTube. So much fun. He was so funny. I mean, he was just so naturally funny. And he also hosted some of the episodes of The Tonight Show. He was one of Johnny Carson's fill-ins. So he had the chops. He was good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
EM Storm or M Storm. I don't know. I'm sorry. Either you know who you are. Storm says, fantastic. This is absolutely amazing to have an interview of this magnitude unearthed in 2023. Wow. Love the podcast and the work you gentlemen are doing. One question, I'm familiar with the MASH reunion, but Memories of MASH is something I haven't heard of. Is this something we can watch somewhere? Well, yeah, you can. You can't really find it anywhere for free. At one point, it was on YouTube, but it got taken down. At one point, it was on Facebook. It also got taken down. But you can find that interview on a couple of the different DVD sets. One of them is the Martinis and the Martinis and Medicine Complete Collection, which is like the entire series on DVD. That has bonus material that includes not only the 30th anniversary MASH reunion, but also Memories of MASH. Now, this was the special that Michael Hirsch produced, was hosted by Shelley Long, and included the interview that we talk about with McLean Stevenson. You can also find it on the DVD set of Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. There's a separate set, and it also has an additional disc with several bonus features, and Memories of MASH is one of those. If there are other places where Memories of MASH might be found, let us know.
Yeah. Well, it's well worth hunting for.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good show. Yeah.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Andrea says, all right, get ready, everybody. Sit down. This is going to be a while. Wow. That was brilliant. You really spoil us. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you.
We like you, so we want to spoil you.
Well, that was nice. Thank you. We will continue to try and spoil you, Andrea.
Yes. And we are so thankful to everybody who posted lovely comments about that episode. It was very special to us, and we're just so thankful and frankly relieved that it was special to you as well.
Yeah, you never know what kind of reaction you're going to get from that sort of very intimate kind of material from McLean. And some people could have said, hey, I resent you for doing that, or that shouldn't have been, you shouldn't have done that. But boy, that never happened. And we're so happy that you appreciated it and you loved him and loved it as much as we did.
And the benefit of episode 100 being such a big deal, and also the one before that with Will Friedle promoting the podcast, has brought on some new listeners to the show. And there were 2 messages in the last week from new listeners, and I thought we could read these. One is from Mick. Morning, gentlemen. I'm 55 and I've been a MASH fanatic from my childhood. I can't remember how many times I've watched every season on rotation. A good friend of mine mentioned your podcast. I don't do podcasts, by the way. This is my first ever. I deliver and sell wine for a living. I'm on the road about 6 hours a day. I'm now up to episode 10 after only 2 days. I'll catch up to the future in no time. Thanks for such an in-depth behind-the-scenes take on a once-in-a-lifetime legendary show. I'm honored to be listening to 2 amazing hosts. Thank you, Ryan and Jeff. I am from Melbourne, Australia. Good day from Mick. Well, Mick, you and Jeff have something in common. 1, you both didn't do podcasts, and 2, this was your first one ever. So,
It's true. Yes. And I follow a wine delivery truck around my neighborhood. So that's
there you go.
3 of them.
3 things you have in common.
Yeah. Our friend David says, I didn't know you existed, but someone sent me a link. I half expected it to be boring, but I found it quite interesting. I look forward to your next installment. All right, David, a man of few words.
That may be my favorite review from a listener so far.
Yeah.
Right there. I half expected it to be boring, but I found it quite interesting.
I love that.
A few other housekeeping things before we get to our AI scene here in just a moment. One is we have had so many listener questions asking us, when are we going to do a season 7 recap? We need to do that. So we will do it soon. That's the best I can say. Soonish. Because I also need to go and review. I mean, I've seen the episodes, obviously. I've seen them so many times, but I like to watch the seasons in order and take some notes and just, familiarize myself again with that particular season. So I want to do that. And once I do that, we will put it out on social media for your favorite episodes from season 7. Hang tight. It's coming. I promise. Sometime in 2023. That's as far down as I can narrow it right now. Second, this was on our social. Again, if you're not following us on social media, what are you doing? Get on there. Facebook,
what's wrong with
Twitter,
you? Come on.
Instagram. Where? But we put this out a few weeks ago, and we wanted also to mention it on here in case you're not on social media. Our friend Eileen Saki, who played Rosie, Eileen has been diagnosed with cancer and is currently undergoing chemo treatments. And we've been in communication with Eileen and her husband, Bob. And there's been an email address that's been put together that you can actually email an encouraging note to Eileen. So if you would like to do that, we'll put this in the show notes for our episode. But just so you know, it's sending love to Rosie. And that's the number 2. So sending love to Rosie@gmail.com. It would mean so much to Eileen and her husband if you would drop her just a quick note of love and encouragement. The last I checked with her husband, Bob, I think over 300 emails had been sent to her. So let's keep them going and show Eileen some love.
She's an adorable person, and her husband's also an adorable person. And I hope we all got our fingers crossed, and I'm sure she's going to get through the whole chemo process in a very positive way. So we're all hoping and praying.
And we recently had some sad news in the MASH family. Judy Farrell passed away. She was 84. She had a stroke and she passed away from complications. Judy played Nurse Abel on MASH. I believe she was on 8 episodes, which blows my mind because I just envision her on so many more than 8. Also, she was married to Mike Farrell for, I think, 20 years. And so, Jeff, I just wanted to ask you, what memories do you have with Judy Farrell?
In the interest of full disclosure, I did not know Judy that well. I really didn't. Our paths did not necessarily cross in the scenes that I was in and she was in. So I didn't know her that well. But I did. She was there and I saw her and we were friendly to each other. I know that she was very well liked and very well loved there in the whole environment of MASH. So it's really sad. Obviously we certainly know Mike and feel very badly for him and his family and her second family. So it's very sad. And these things happen. What do you say? Gosh, this is life. And we try and go on. But it's a very sad moment. It really is. So
It is. It's sad. It's just sad when we lose members of the family. There was one little trivia note about Judy. In the episode The Colonel's Horse, BJ says his wife is from Quapaw, Oklahoma. And that is where Judy was from. Peg's father's name was Floyd Hayden, and that was actually Judy's real father's name. That was just a little nod to Judy and her family during the course of the show.
How sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So Judy Farrell, goodbye, farewell, and amen.
And before we go any farther, let me say one more thank you to 5 people that we really appreciate for showing up on our 100th episode and contributing a lot to it. Almost as much as McLean Stevenson did. But those 5 people, I will start with Mr. Mike Farrell, Mr. Alan Alda, Mr. Gary Berghoff, Mr. Jamie Farr, and Ms. Loretta Swit. They gave of their hearts and souls, and they called and they left messages of congratulations and support to MASH Matters. And I will never forget them. I thank you all for doing that. I love you all tremendously. And by golly, it was a wonderful experience, at least for me anyway. What'd you think of it, Ryan?
I listen to it on a loop when I go to bed every night. Are you kidding me? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, thank you. And thanks to everybody who sent in congratulations and sweet words. It means the world to us. All right. So we're going to close now, as promised, with a scene that was written by AI.
Oh, my goodness.
The setting is the mess tent at the 4077th MASH. Private Igor is sitting at a table wearing headphones and speaking into a microphone, Major Charles Emerson Winchester III walks in and approaches the table.
Hiya, Major. I'm recording my new podcast.
Private, I'm not in the mood for your shenanigans. What is this podcast nonsense you're blathering on about?
It's all about food, Major. I share my tips and tricks on how to make the perfect omelet, how to season your food just right, and even how to make a mean grilled cheese sandwich.
How delightful.
And the name of my podcast is Igor's Kitchen Confidential.
How quaint. I'm sure the world is eagerly waiting to hear your culinary insights, Private.
But I thought you liked food, Major.
Of course I like food, Private, but I prefer to eat it, not blabber on about it like some demented Julia child.
Oh, I get it. You're jealous because I'm sharing my knowledge with the world.
Yes, Igor, I'm green with envy over your ability to burn toast and overcook eggs.
Major, you're so funny. I can't wait for you to be a guest on my podcast.
Over my dead body, Private. I have better things to do than waste my time listening to your mindless prattle.
Okay, Major. Well, maybe one day you'll change your mind.
Yes, Private, and maybe one day pigs will fly. Dun 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 dun. There you go.
All right.
Top that, Alda. Top that.
My gosh, that made me nervous. I started sweat doing that. Holy moly.
And that entire scene was written by AI.
Amazing. Gee,
Isn't it?
Willica. You know, to be perfectly honest, I thought it captured his character better than the Igor character.
Yeah,
I thought it gave more stuff to it, but that's all right. But that was fun.
Yeah.
Gee, that's 100 million years since I've looked at anything that says Igor and said the words after that name.
Isn't that cool?
That was pretty cool. Yeah. You were terrific.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. So now it's on to episode 102 and 103 and 104 and what's to come. Honestly, we have no idea. Where do we go from here, Jeff?
Cleveland is nice, they say. I don't know.
I don't know how we're going to be able to top what we were able to do with the first 100 episodes.
Yeah.
But we're going to try. And if anybody has suggestions on future episodes or future guests, please let us know. You can reach us at mashmatterspodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can listen to old episodes on your favorite podcast player at the website. You can also find us on YouTube. And you can also call and leave a voicemail under 3 minutes in length. And that phone number is 513-436-4077.
Hey, it's been a heck of 100 episode experience, Ryan.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank everybody that listens, and thank everybody that's going to continue to listen, because we will come up with some good stuff. I'm confident we will. I don't know what.
Yeah. I'm confident that we don't know what we're doing.
We
but
don't know. Yeah, very confident of that.
We will figure it out.
Yeah, we will.
And until then, here's looking up your old address.